All right, Alex, it looks like it, so the preview window for some reason is all screwed up. It's showing it big, but when I started the stream,
Oh, does it look fine?
it looks normal.
Oh,
So it's a different link, unfortunately. I got rid of the other one because I thought maybe the other one was bad. So I'm going to copy this link and quickly send it to Kathy. And I don't know if she can send it out to anyone, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to leave the I'm going to leave the stream going.
sounds good.
Kathy, I just sent you out a new link for YouTube. I don't know if there's any way you can get it out, but
Okay, we'll get it out right now.
apologize about that. I'm not quite sure why it's freaking
Okay.
out.
All right.
And Alex, I put a fade slate over the screen, so when we're ready to start, we'll just go ahead and take that off.
Alrighty then.
Hey, Amanda, is that you from Grand County?
It is.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You too. How are you?
Fine, fine. I won't talk too long because I know they're about ready to start, but I just wanted to say hi.
Oh, thanks. Hi, Jerry.
You're looking good.
Thanks. Moab's treating me good.
All those arches are doing you well.
That's right. That's right.
Alex, real quick, see if you can turn on your captioning button.
Nope, it's still the same thing it was showing before.
All right, I'm gonna have to get with UETN and see why you don't have that capability, because you should have it.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Kathy Davis, and I am the Suicide Prevention Specialist for the Utah State Board of Education. And today we are pleased to host a virtual mental health and suicide prevention panel. I'm going to take the first couple minutes to just introduce the speakers, and they will actually, if they wouldn't mind, they will unmute and then also show themselves on the video. And we are so pleased. Oh, it looks like they're hearing. That's great. And so if the rest of the audience, if you wouldn't mind making sure that your microphone is muted so that we can go ahead and go through this. We have the honor of talking about a video that is really near and dear to my heart. And today's focus is all about the survivors of suicide loss and how do we carry on. And we have had to endure what I call the dumpster fire of 2020 and continuing on into 2021. And what I think it has taught me is the power of connection. So without further ado, if we could start with you, Hallie, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and putting on your camera so that you could introduce yourself. And if you wouldn't mind just giving a little background of your journey, and that would be great to lead us off.
Sure. I hope you can see me. I definitely unmuted so I can hear you. My name is Hallie Toomey, and I am CJ Toomey's mom. CJ unfortunately took his life 10 years ago, April 14th of 2010. He ended his life in front of us, and life has not obviously ever been the same since. I was incredibly devastated and have been and needed to do something to honor his memory and to keep his memory alive. So about 7 years ago, I started something called the Scattering CJ. Well, it's called Scattering CJ. I've started to look at it as a Scattering CJ project. And my sole purpose was to have my larger than life son who didn't get to see the world kind of go out and blanket the world. So I asked people through social media, through Facebook, if they would consider scattering some of his ashes, and hoped maybe if 50 people said yes, it would be a success. The story went viral, and it's what's led me here today. I have met through the wonders of social media and the amazing documentary that Spark Media contacted us and asked to make about CJ's story. There's an entire community of almost 24,000 people that have reached out, have offered to scatter CJ's ashes. His story has thankfully prevented a lot of people that we've learned from following his footsteps. It's given me a purpose. It gives me a reason to get up every day, because being a parent of a child that passes away is horrible enough, but to know it's from suicide and to having watched it, the last 10 years I've been riddled with guilt, and I just needed a purpose. So I am sort of on a mission now through his story, through the documentary, to raise awareness about suicide prevention, mental health, mental well-being, and to share our story, the rawness of it, the realities of it, and to stop as many people from becoming CJ or being like CJ, and to stop families from having to live this nightmare. So thank you very much for allowing myself and the documentary to be here today.
Thank you so much, Hallie. I'm going to introduce the rest of our panelists. If they wouldn't mind, I will just call on you one by one. If you will unmute and then show yourself on the camera. And if we could start with Leah Colburn. Just introduce yourself, Leah.
Hi, my name's Leah Colburn. I am with the Utah Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health. I'm the Program Administrator over Children's Services. I also serve as the co-chair for the Youth Suicide Prevention Collaborative, which is a work group under the Utah Suicide Prevention Coalition.
Thank you so much, Leah. And next, if we would hear from Taryn from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Taryn?
Hi, everybody. My name is Taryn Hyatt. I currently serve as the area director for our Utah and Nevada chapters of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Like Hallie, I lost my dad to suicide in 2002. I also was, and I think it was, for me, it was fortunate. I was fortunate to be the one to find him, as my father had found me like that so many times. I'm also someone who survived my own attempts, and I'm very grateful to be alive today. My purpose is, my dad died, I knew it was important that we help people understand the causes of suicide, that we talk about it, that we get rid of the stigma, we make it okay to help, and that we allow people who've had the experience like I have to share that dark night of the soul, and where we were at, so that we can invite others to do the same. So I'm just really grateful for my partners in crime here, Kathy and Leah. I know you well. Hallie, it's nice to meet you virtually. As a fellow loss survivor, and all of you on this call, most of us know somebody. And so we've all been touched in some way, and just appreciate the opportunity to, again, bring light to a subject that so often is hidden in the darkness. So thank you.
And then finally, our final panelist is from Safe UT. Ashley Costello, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself. Thank you, Ashley.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. My name is Ashley Costello, and I am a project administrator for Safe UT, but I also work very closely as a liaison with the Utah State Board of Education. So I do work with Kathy Davis very closely and routinely on some crisis response outreaches as well. So again, thank you for having me. And Hallie, it's nice to meet you as well.
Well, thank you so very much. And we have quite a few participants in this event. This will also be live streamed through YouTube, and it will be recorded and be on our YouTube channel. And as with any conversation about suicide, I want to talk about making sure that all of us are really in touch with suicide loss and our personal experiences. And we have a number of people that are going to be monitoring the chat. And I want you to be very mindful of how this experience might be for you. And so we do have folks on the chat as well. And so I'll just go ahead and talk to you a little bit about how this will proceed. While we don't have time to see the entire film of Scattering CJ, we decided to just do a few clips, and we also are privileged to hear from one of our champions in suicide prevention, our legislator, Representative Steve Elison. The legislation for suicide prevention has really evolved over the years in the last decade. We're going to start the program off by having viewing a clip from Representative Steve Elison. It is the legislative session, and I think, as Hallie knows and all of us know, in suicide prevention, it's so important to advocate for mental health, especially for our young people. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give a recorded message from Representative Elison.
Eddie, this is Jerry. You want me to try to share it?
Okay, there we go. Okay, now.
Youth suicide prevention in Utah has come a long way in the past decade or less, and there's become the realization that it's not acceptable and that it's really completely preventable. We did some analytics and determined that on average every year we lose enough students to school-age students to suicide that equates about 3,000 to 3,000 years of lost human life, which is staggering to think of, that much potential being lost so unnecessarily. As a state, we came together and in a collaborative way with legislators, school districts, the State Office of Education, public health professionals to say, what can we do different? And a number of great programs have come out of these discussions. We, of course, have our first suicide prevention coordinator for our schools, which is Kathy Davis, who's done a tremendous job. We have our Safe UT program, which tens of thousands of students are now using on a regular basis. On a weekly basis, they are doing active rescues for students who have temporarily forgotten that they want to live, and we've sent out EMS or law enforcement crews to literally rescue those students, which so far with those active rescues, we've not lost a student. We feel very fortunate that we've seen in the data that on a rate basis that are actually student youth suicides are falling, albeit it's a small decrease. We'd like to see a much larger decrease, but national trends show that those numbers continue to climb. So we're grateful to see that the challenge is slowing, yet we also recognize we still have so much to do because there's really no reason we should see any students dying by suicide if they know about the resources that are available, and we're educating the parents and the teachers about those options and how to access help. It's been a huge team effort. Every teacher now gets training on youth suicide prevention, and we have numerous additional school counselors, psychologists, social workers in our schools, thanks to legislation that has been passed by the legislature, championed by the governor's office, and so many others. The available resources to students now, compared to just 5 years ago, has increased tremendously, but we know that we have to keep working, and that when you realize what a tragedy is just to lose one student, I think it motivates everybody to say we can't let this happen again, and to think harder and deeper about what we can do to save additional lives. Youth suicide prevention in Utah has come a long way in the past.
Well, I'm really proud of myself. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but what would life be like without technical difficulties? And that's why I have my crew and everyone helping me. I think we probably have had more people join us. And so for those of you that have just joined us, we've just previously introduced the panel for our discussion today on mental health and suicide prevention. So I'm so grateful that Representative Elison took the time out of his busy schedule to record that message for all of you, because during this legislative session, it is policy changes and advocacy that has created safe spaces for all of our young people, and it's also created an opportunity for us to provide more protective factors for our kids. So I'm going to turn the time over to some of our panel members, and I'll let you just jump in as you would like to, because I think if Taryn, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about advocacy and why that's so important. And we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is a busy time of year, and I, for one, am okay with our legislative session being virtual. It gives me the opportunity to participate in committee meetings from my home instead of racing up to Salt Lake from Utah County. But no, it is so important that when we've been affected, especially by suicide, that we, get to know our legislators, share your story with them, let them hear from you. Our chapter has been working diligently over the last several years, hosting what we call a virtual state capitol day. This year it's virtual, normally in person. But it gives you an opportunity to get involved, to understand what legislation is happening at the Capitol. What are they working on? Where can we lend a voice of support or a voice of opposition that says, you know what, that's actually not a smart move to go forward with. And, thanks to Representative Ellison and having champions who really support mental health and suicide prevention, it has been amazing to see what our state has done. We were able to ban conversion therapy on minors. We've been able to implement positions at the state level in both the health department, Kathy's position at the State Office of Education, so that we have people who are dedicated to this cause. Michael Staley, who works at our medical examiner's office, giving us real-time data on who we're losing and what we can be doing. Folks that like Ashley at the Safe UT, UNI. Well, it used to be UNI, now it's Huntsman. I have to get my acronyms correct. But again, that's a huge victory. Huntsman Mental Health Institute, donating money to, again, be able to improve access to care. So I just would encourage people to get involved. You can do that through our organization by signing up to become an advocate. It just means we're going to keep you informed of legislation happening locally and nationally. We're trying to pass a 3-digit crisis number, 988. It was designated as the new number for crisis. However, it will not go live until 2022, but we're going to need funding. We're going to need a system put in place at a local level. So as soon as that bill gets numbered, we're going to need you to reach out to your legislators and talk about why it matters to have a 3-digit crisis number for mental health. We have one for if my house is burning down. We have one if I have an emergency. Well, we need one for mental health emergencies. So I could talk advocacy all day, but I'll shush. But again, thanks, Kathy, and thank you to Steve Ellison for being our champion. We're grateful for his work and efforts.
Thank you so much, Taryn. And in terms of advocacy, my purview is students ages kindergarten through 12th grade. But one thing that I really want to advocate for today is for our youth that are in transition, our youth that are graduating and going on to college or the military or into the job, working in the workforce or something like that. So if Leah wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about how this transition into adulthood, while exciting, can also be really stressful. And we're going to show you a clip, but if you could kind of set up the clip for us, Leah, and talk about why it's such a hard transition going into young adulthood.
Yes, Kathy. So I think it's one of those things. I mean, so many of us on this call are pretty removed from graduating high school and moving into the next steps of our life, right? And I think that, for youth and myself included, it was so exciting to be able to finish school and move on to that next part. But I think it's really important to remember that it's also super scary, and there is no pathway of what you're supposed to do or not supposed to do. There's that thought and that the pressure of, you need to do this and you need to do that. But realistically, young people are really creating their own pathways in life when they graduate from high school and to go whatever direction they end up wanting to do. And I think all of us here and in our communities really need to help foster for young people that it's okay whatever path you want to take, and that the support is there, and that you will make mistakes and you will fail, and the plans you set out before you graduate high school might happen, might not happen, and that's okay. all of it's okay. Life is a journey. We don't get it right too often. And it's okay to go back to the drawing boards and start again. Back to you, Kathy.
Okay, thank you so much. I have having so much fun with my mute button. Anyway, what I'm going to do next is just segue into the first clip that we wanted to show you. And it's going to be an introduction into CJ's life. And we'll just go ahead and give you the opportunity to watch this. And then afterward, we'll come back to the panel and talk a little bit about this.
For anyone who doesn't know, this is an MRE heater. They get extremely hot like lava. We don't put our hands in them. In the Air Force, when you're on the field, you use the box to keep it from burning yourself. So you put it in there, and then that way, if you're scooping stuff out, you're not gonna get it all over yourself. Oh, really? We're gonna do it. Just gonna...
He wanted to do something different. He wasn't talking college. He knew military before he graduated. That's what he wanted to do.
A little cold, but not bad, right?
He always was looking at the next greatest thing, something to kind of push himself.
CJ was always so proud of being in the military, physically, fitness-wise, and the training he's gone through, which is incredibly arduous training.
He was so excited as he made it through the ranks. And I thought that the Air Force was something that would help him define his life.
He was recruited for Special Forces and was brought down to Florida to compete for a specific position. I just thought, this is it. This is what he's meant to do. But he didn't get chosen. He didn't make it.
I don't think he could find himself. I just think he felt like a loser.
Sometimes in my sort of dark moments, I feel like such a damn hypocrite. I didn't know what I was doing, and I screwed up my plans, and my God, my parents weren't happy. And, why did I think CJ at 20 or 19 years old had his act together?
I think about, what happened and I don't know. I mean, I think there were a lot more things in his life that were going on that we didn't necessarily know about or could see.
And I thought CJ would find his way, find a way out. I remember saying, just hang in there. You'll be fine. It'll take time. But you got to hang in.
He did a lot more staying in, drinking. He gained weight. I didn't know what to think of that. Didn't know what was happening. What was so bad that we couldn't help him with it? I'll never know.
One final journey. That is how an Auburn woman is describing her effort to help keep her son's memory alive.
It's been more than 3 years since Christopher C.J. Toomey killed himself. And every day, his family has been searching for answers.
I don't know exactly when Scattering CJ was born in my head. What I do know is after looking at CJ's urn, day after day after day, that somewhere it started to dawn on me that this can't be the end for him. I know it's nuts. People will think I'm absolutely, going insane, but could you, as a parent, ask strangers to take your child's ashes? And I just said, Facebook exists. There's a lot of people. And so I thought maybe they'll help him see the world that he didn't get to see. Maybe if we ask, somebody will take a minute out of their day. And I really thought of it as simply that they'll scatter his ashes and be on their way. I just kept thinking, John, is it crazy? Do you think it would be okay? And he actually said, you know what? I think it's a great idea. So I posted it. And then overnight, my phone is beeping and beeping and beeping and beeping and beeping. So I knew something had happened. Every grain you now possess represents my beautiful CJ. Please send me any pictures and a description of his journey. I want to live each moment as close to when it happens as possible. Thank you for helping me give CJ one last amazing journey. Your kindness will never be forgotten.
I'm Anna, and this is my husband, Nav.
We're here today at the Great Pyramid of Giza to scatter CJ's ashes.
CJ, your mom loves you very much.
I'm here for DJ.
Alec, here's CJ. I'm taking scuba diving. We're gonna go to the Great Barrier Reef, and we're gonna do it right now. Woo!
We're here at the Great Wall of China.
Welcome to the 22nd Olympic Winter Games.
Among the Buddhas and find peace. Namaste.
Holly, would you mind just commenting a little bit about what this journey has meant for you?
Sure. Sorry, my microphone's at the top of my screen for some reason. It's funny. I've seen this film so many times and seen all those, snippets, and it still really impacts me. I've said many times before that when you lose a child in the way that we lost a child, you feel so isolated and so alone. And despite knowing hundreds of thousands of parents and families have gone through similar experiences, it's just the stigma and the isolation that you feel, that you believe, that you perceive. It's overwhelming. And having started this journey, this project with really no intent other than to have my son remembered, and then finding out that in doing so, a community of people kind of came together, those looking for support, those offering support. It's given me so much strength. 10 years later, I'm still really sad all the time. I still, beat myself up for the shoulda, coulda, wouldas that I think ways I should have parented differently. But this entire process, originally as just a project and then as an extension into the documentary, has introduced me to a whole community of people that I otherwise would not have known. I say it over and over, I would give anything, including my life, to not be here, not having this reason to talk to you all, because ultimately, the reason I'm here is a really shitty one. Excuse my language, but it is. And I don't want to be in this community. I don't want to be an advocate. I don't want to be a spokesperson. And whether I want to or not, CJ isn't coming back, and I can't undo what happened. But what I passionately feel is that we have to talk. We have to be open to communicate. We have to say it's okay not to be okay. We have to make sure that education and communication happen at a much younger age so that, maybe people that are in CJ's shoes or thinking about, their struggles like my son did, maybe they'll understand that it's okay to ask for help. This project has been life-changing for me in a way that I honestly believe if I didn't have it, if I hadn't met the people I've met, if I didn't have opportunities like this one, which I absolutely don't take for granted, it's a blessing in disguise. But I know that, if given the opportunity, I would change everything. But because it's now part of my reality, I am just going to keep using the Scattering CJ journey and the film to spark conversations, to open dialogues, to make, it to become a normal part of our upbringing, especially with our younger kids, that it's okay to talk. And so this has just been a gift. It's a gift. I say that, I probably said that 1,000 times, but it's true. And I'm not saying it, casually. It's been a gift that I didn't know I needed or that I wanted. And like I said, although I take it all back, I'm so thankful that it was started, that my husband and my son Connor had the, wherewithal to say, yeah, it's a good idea. And even more honored that Spark Media saw something in the story and the value of the story, because quite frankly, living it, I didn't see anything that could come. Why would people want to watch this documentary that's based on tragedy and sadness, and to see the end result being hopeful and that people are responsive and want to use it as a tool is just something that it's the most amazingly bittersweet journey I've been on, and probably will continue to be on as long as I can.
Hallie, thank you so much. This story just has touched me in so many ways. Are there other panel members that want to just chime in a little bit and talk about this journey and what this is? Because I think, I've been on this journey and I've had the honor to be in the suicide prevention community for the past 6 years. I've had to have really uncomfortable situations and be comfortable with being uncomfortable, like doing this presentation today. But I do this because I feel so strongly that I'm going to suit up and show up and advocate for kids, especially our young people. So are there any other comments before we show the next clip?
Yeah, I would love to piggyback. Sorry, Taryn. I'll be quick and then I'll pass it to you. I would like to piggyback off of what Hallie said. She said a phrase that it's okay to not be okay. And that hits home. And that is the message me personally, but also Safe UT actually spreads to our youth and to our community and things as such. Because that's it right there. It's okay to not be okay. And everyone needs that reminder every now and again. When Safe UT does go to schools and has assemblies and completes outreaches. Believe it or not, we're actually not just showing them how to use Safe UT, but we are spreading that message of it's okay to not be okay. Let's help reduce the stigma between everybody. We talk about healthy coping skills. We talk about stressors. We talk about who they can talk to. And then we talk about who they can talk to when those people aren't available. And then we bring in that Safe UT as an additional resource. But Hallie, again, you're 100% correct. It's okay to not be okay. And that's a message I think everyone needs to hear as often as possible. So thank you. Taryn.
I'm just going to give you an amen because I echo that as well. And thank you, Hallie. The thing that's so important for us to remember as survivors of loss is our risk is increased when we do experience this. And so it is so important that we provide and find, right, support and people that we can connect with and folks that have been on this journey. Hallie has a unique experience where she can relate so well with another parent. I lost my parent, so I'm on that flip side where it was my parent who I lost. And so we have a program that I love. It's called Healing Conversations. where you can request a peer-to-peer visit by somebody who has been there, who has shared that journey of loss, who can sit with you in that dark night and in that dark space. Because for those who haven't been there, they don't often know what to do. And I know in our situation, there was nobody talking about suicide when our dad died. Nobody came over to our house with that creepy green Jello with the carrots in it, casseroles, all that stuff. And I joke about that, but I'm serious. And again, it wasn't because they didn't care. They just didn't know what to say. And so remember that, you don't have to have the magic words. Nothing can fix Hallie's heartbreak. Nothing can fix mine. You just have to show up and be there. You support people and say, I'm here for you. And I'm here continually, after that first month when everybody stops calling and checking in, we need you to show up on the year anniversary, the 10-year anniversary, in my case, the 20-year anniversary coming up. I still have that day as a day that I do whatever the heck I want, because it's my own personal holiday. I don't have to show up for anybody else, because some years it's easy, other years it's not. And it's important to remember that, help us remember the birthdays, help us remember the fun times too. My sister and I still shamelessly go to Chili's on my dad's birthday and pretend it's one of ours. Actually, we tell him it's his and said, we want a damn free dessert. And we get our free dessert and we sing happy birthday. So, there's ways that we can honor him too. And so anyway, just a couple of thoughts I had, but yeah, thank you, Hallie, for sharing that. What a beautiful tribute to see him be able to be placed in places that he may not have been able to see. I just love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen and Ashley and Hallie and Leah, for everything that you've said. We're going to segue now to our next clip about someone's personal journey, and then we will come back to the panel after this next clip.
When I first read about scattering CJ, I just cried by myself on my bed. It's so tragic, but it's healing in my own life. Since I was 8, I had feelings of being alone or neglected or not loved by my family. That contributed to my thoughts of suicide, and I carried them with me a lot. I would look up stuff on the internet, how to do it, which one wouldn't hurt, which one would be quick. It all sounded really scary. CJ is a reminder to get help. It's hard when you're younger to see that life is going to get any better than what it is right then. I understand what it's like to struggle and be made fun of and bullied, or just afraid to show up. A lot of people suffer in silence. They're afraid to tell someone how they feel. There's good days and there's bad days. Some days I need more help than others. My mom could have easily been Hallie. I wanted to celebrate that she wasn't and have her accompany me to do something that was healing for me. I made a promise to myself that I would never end my life. I made a promise to CJ. I can be a legacy as part of CJ. He can live on in the thousands of places and people that he's touched. I want to be there for someone else, so they have a happy ending like me.
For this next segment, I think we all need to talk a lot about what's been going on in each and every one of our lives. And I think we've all collectively experienced insurmountable grief, you know, with the pandemic and just life in general. I really like to talk about Michelle Obama and how she recognized the fact that she was living with a low-grade depression right now in these pandemic times. And I think so many things are so uncertain for one another that I think it behooves all of us to look to one another for strength and connection. And so what I want to do next is if we could talk, panelists, about the fact that there's a lot of barriers for our young people in getting help. And what do you see as the biggest barriers when it comes to mental health and suicide risk in young adults and our youth in general?
So there's several barriers. I think the first is that for so many young people, it's then transition from childhood to adulthood, that magic number of 18, that really doesn't mean a lot for a lot of reasons. You know, it's just a number, a birthday, turning 18. But when it comes to mental health services and physical health services, a lot changes for young people. For some, it means that their therapist that they've been working with for years won't serve them anymore. They have to go to a different mental health system. It means that they have choices when it comes to who can be involved in their care, which I know sometimes can also be a challenge for their parents who've been that support system for that. But I think what it really comes back to when it comes to barriers is being able to find the rightness of fit when it comes to what services are going to meet their needs moving forward, right? Like as a young adult, they can choose what services or if they want to have services or not. And I think that can be sometimes the biggest barrier of that. I can do this. I'm an adult. I can make my choices. And sometimes we see young people kind of drop out of those supports that they've had because there's that I can do it mentality. So I think those are some of those barriers when it comes to services. Taryn, do you have anything that you'd want to add in?
Well, I love that you brought up again. I just think it's periods of transition, period, right? I mean, I watched my own children as they went from, elementary to junior high struggle, from junior high to high school struggle. And then of course that high school to what am I going to be when I grow up? I vividly remember my son went from being a courtesy clerk, that's a bagger at Smith's, where he was in an air-conditioned, right, job and loading people's groceries to work in construction and in the, 100-degree heat and working 60 hours a week. Like, what am I doing? and just struggling. And so, I learned early on, and I'm grateful for it. Hallie talked about some of those blessings that we get in this situation. Because our dad died from suicide, because I had attempted suicide. Suicide was a discussion we had in our home. We talked about all the S words, but it was a discussion we had in our home. And so when my children struggled, they knew they could come to me and say, Mom, this is where my brain is at. This is what it's thinking. Misty put a comment in the chat box that said, most of the time it's not that they want to die, they just want the pain to end. And that was my experience as a teenager. I wasn't attempting suicide because I wanted to be dead. I had things that were happening that I wanted to change. I didn't know how to change them. I felt powerless. I felt stuck. I felt trapped. And I just wanted to get away from it. And both of my children, if I were to share their experiences of when they had contemplated suicide, it was very similar. And so it's just important to be able to find places where they can talk openly. I even remember my daughter, Caitlin, saying to me at one time, Mom, what if it's not you I want to talk to? And of course, my heart was like, oh, sad. She's like, but I want to talk to Grandma. And I said, then do it. By all means, tell whoever it is you can tell. If it's not me, fine. But have those people. And so sometimes it's that barrier of them maybe not knowing who can they go to. And then we as parents have to go, it's okay if it's not me. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong or bad. It just means that maybe there's an opportunity for me to be better, to be that safe space. But finding those people that they can open up with, I think is so big.
Thank you so much, Taryn, and thank you, Leah. One thing I want to just emphasize is here in Utah, we are so fortunate to have the program of Safe UT. And Ashley, if you wouldn't mind just expounding a little bit about that and how it began as a K through 12, well, actually it began just in the high schools and then it's expanded in terms of help seeking and availability for help for all of our young people.
Yes, absolutely. So Safe UT started out of uni, which was the University Neuropsychiatric Institute, which is now the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, so HMHI, over at the University of Utah. And, they were noticing that youth was not calling into the crisis line, as often as they used to be. So they kind of took that and grappled with it a bit and met students where they were at and, texting. So what Safe UT, how that came about is a text in crisis two-way conversation opportunity for students. And it is legislatively funded. So it is available to all K through 12 schools throughout the state of Utah. Schools just have to enroll in the Safe UT program. And then any school that is enrolled, not only do their students, who is our main focus, yes, but also their educators and staff and faculty, and also their parents have access to Safe UT 24/7, 365 at no cost. So on our end of Safe UT, our master's level clinicians that, like I said, are chatting and texting back and forth with these individuals who some are in the middle of a crisis and need some support. Some are, at the stages before a crisis and they just need help navigating their feelings and need some healthy coping skills, examples or things as such. We've been lucky to expand that K through 12 population to higher ed as well. So a lot of our college and higher education institutions are enrolled in the program as well. But we are in 100% of high schools right now, 100% of middle schools, and about 85%, give or take a few percent, of elementary schools. So it is truly an outlet for students and individuals, at 2 a.m. when they're alone with their thoughts and their minds are racing and they feel alone and have no one else to reach out to at that time.
Thank you so much. And I think everyone and all of the panelists have really confirmed.
Hi, this is Elise Hansen. I'm over the SHARP survey for the school district, and Brother Lindo will be administering that, I understand, for our seminary students. If you could please give me a call, I'd sure appreciate it to kind of go over a few things. My number is 435-469-0521. Thank you.
I'm trying to, but I'm unable to. So what we're going to do is just, this is life as we know it, isn't it? And life is what happens to you when you're making other plans. And I'm just going to tell a quick story, if you will, because I think we just need to meet each other where we are. And I remember I have 4 children, and my last child was about to graduate. And as we got in the car, we knew that we weren't going to get out of the car because it was a drive-through graduation. And my daughter had to don her cap and gown, and it was the fastest graduation in a mask, and the pictures are incredible. But that, I think, is what we have to embrace for all of us, is this radical acceptance of life isn't always going to be the way that we planned it to be. And I think that's what's really the life lesson that I've learned, is just that radical acceptance. And I think it's something that, unfortunately, as survivors of suicide loss, we have to accept things that we don't want to accept. And in this job, I will continue to keep on showing up. And Hallie, do you have any additional comments about that, about just being able to accept things as they really are, even though we can't change them?
That's tough. I mean, it's what needs to happen, but it's tough. I was thinking as you were all talking about these great programs that Utah's offering, that one of the things that I've kind of been introduced with through this journey is that lots of parents are unwilling to have open discussions in the home with their children. And, you know, as I'm listening to you offer these great texting things, that it's so important, because if parents won't, you know, our life is what it is. Tomorrow's not promised. I certainly can, you know, believe me when I tell you that I have never in a million years would have thought that I'd be here, or that this is, you know, no one prepares you to be a parent of a child who takes their own life. So life is what it is. We're not changing the pandemic quickly. People are feeling more alone. Kids, I'm sure. I mean, I can't even imagine if I had gone through CJ's suicide, when I couldn't reach out and hug people and touch people, and even thankfully we have the ability to virtually connect and have the film screened. But I will tell you that I miss the hands-on, being able to look at people in the eye and thank them and feel that connection. But I just want to remind parents that it's not always just getting our kids educated and teaching them that it's important to know what resources are out there and the tools. And, you know, I think it's absolutely imperative that parents realize and understand that because life is what it is, we have to be open to communicating with our kids. Even if they don't want to talk to you, you still need to make sure they know they can, and that you support them going somewhere else if that's what needs to be. But I meet parent after parent, especially in the years right after CJ's suicide, that they don't want to talk about it because in some twisted way that makes it happen, or would make it possibly happen. Like if you talk about suicide to your kids, that's going to plant a seed in their head. And I actually think it's, you know, I have no statistics to back it up, but my gut is that it's just like when you're a kid and you're told you can't do something over and over, then you want to more than that. I want parents to recognize that you are with your kids so often, and you are such a powerful tool for them, whether you're comfortable talking about it or not. I want you to recognize that it's okay to just say to them, I may not be the person, I may not have all the answers, but I'm okay with what you need to gather. Life is so painful when you can't go back. I have so many regrets. I have a remaining son who never wanted to be a child of, you know, an only child. I'm watching CJ's friends have families and kids and all of those things that are never going to come back. And I can't tell you that if I was more open to the conversation, and I'm the first to admit I was not a perfect parent. I'm not sure I ever discussed suicide openly with my kids, because you just don't think about it, you know, in your teens, that's going to be an issue. If I could do it over, I would be from, you know, whatever the cutoff age when they're younger, even if you're not discussing suicide actively, if you're discussing, let me talk about your feelings. What are you thinking of? I mean, I just want people to walk away from events like this where we're, you know, remembering that your words are powerful, that your kids, they're smart. They understand what they need. They know that they need to talk. And, you know, life is what it is, but it's when you're me, I don't want anyone to be me. I don't want anyone to have to go through this. I'm not even sure I answered the question. I'm probably rambling, but it's just so important to me to make sure people understand. We didn't make this film for anything other than wanting people to understand this is reality. You know, there's no promise of tomorrow. You can't go back and undo. So be there for each other. It's not just our kids, it's for each other. I've struggled, absolutely. I've gone to counseling. I will probably always struggle because I can't unsee what I saw. I can't, you know, my last words to my son, you know, I don't need to talk about the details of how he ended his life, but his last words to me were, "You think I'm a failure, don't you?" And I didn't say anything. I thought he was being dramatic. And his next words to me were, "Failure, I'll show you failure." And then he ended his life in front of us. And, you know, you don't want to be me. You want to make sure that your kids they know you love them, that our loved ones, you know, extended family, I just believe communication is the key. I think we need to have supports and resources available, but talk, and then talk some more.
Holly, thank you so much. I'm going to go to our final clip from the movie. And as you're watching this film and this final film clip, if you wouldn't mind just putting any questions that you might have for the panel members. And we're going to end after this clip to just kind of summarize some of the best practices that we can all do to prevent suicide. So I'm going to play the final clip, and then if you wouldn't mind just putting any questions that you might have in the chat.
We are in Kent, Ohio, at the Cuyahoga River. CJ, your mom wanted us to tell you that she loves you and she's sorry. She misses you. Your dad and Connor miss you. You've touched so many lives, including mine and my son's. It's okay.
Your mom misses you, and I'm proud to be on this journey too. I'm here to spread your passion.
Go ahead. Thank you, Hallie, for letting us be a part of this journey. It meant so much to us. It has brought us closer and has helped us heal as a family. We hope that you heal soon, too.
Thank you, Hallie.
In November of 2010, I went out with some friends. When I got home, I didn't know really what was going on. I just knew that I didn't want to be here. Yeah, it was years leading up to that. I called my brother and my best friend and told them, and one of them called 911 and basically saved my life. I found Scattering CJ on Facebook, and it opened up a huge communication between Alex and I. I was able to tell him everything about my attempted suicide and my depression.
When my mom told me about CJ, it made me cry. When she asked me why I was crying, I said, because these could be your ashes that I'm spreading. 42.
I love this picture. You look like a little old man sitting there, don't you? But with the big old binky in your mouth. I think when people hear the word depression, they think, you're weak, you're mentally disturbed, something like that. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It's just a condition. And if you feel like you're in that place where you don't want to be here, reach out because there are so many people that are there to help.
There's been times where I just want to collapse in my bed and give up, but I think of CJ and it carries me on to I can do this today.
I just want to read some of the comments from the chat, and this one is especially wonderful. It's, thank you all for sharing your stories and experience. Hallie especially, thanks for sharing such a powerful message to encourage us to communicate with our children and youth. For those of us who feel inadequate about knowing how best to communicate caring to children and youth and to survivors of suicide, what would you recommend we do or say? What helped you the most?
That's a really great question, Terry. And I think a number of us on the panel can work to craft an answer for you that I think hopefully meets what you're asking. I think when it comes to talking to children and youth and showing that you care, there really isn't a wrong way to do it. I think it's being present. It's role modeling. It's just having those opportunities for communication, letting kids and youth know, like, hey, I'm here. How's your day going? Just those small things goes a really far way for kids. I think being able to highlight what kids are doing well, even those small things, and pointing out those small wins that kids have on a daily basis. Thanks for doing the dishes. Thanks for setting the table. I think those are huge, small, and those are huge statements that make, they're just simple to make. And I think that the more that you can as an adult or, in that child's life, if you're a parent, a caregiver, a teacher, whoever, I think if you can also role model for the kids that are around you how you manage your emotions, I think that goes a long way in showing you care. When you're able to say, I'm having a hard day today, I think that can role model to kids. It's okay to say, I'm having a hard day too. And just taking those small opportunities. I think those are some things that, jump out to me. Taryn, Ashley, are the things that you want to add in?
Yes, absolutely. And I actually asked this very similar question to Kathy Davis herself last week. So Kathy, I'm going to relay the information and let me know if I forget anything. But really just meeting your students, your kids, your youth, kind of where they are. So, if you go to talk to them and they're only ready for step one, let's chat at that step one, really introduction phase. But if they're feeling a little bit more deeper into conversation, you can push it to step 2 or step 3. Go ahead and survey the scene, but really keep it comfortable, keep it natural, and meet them where they are. And then you think about those types of difficult conversations of starting to teach them and to learn how to discuss their feelings and express the way they're feeling, because that is not a simple task. Think about what that surrounding area looks like. Where are they most comfortable? Is it going for a walk while talking to them? Is it maybe in the car on the way to school or going for a drive on a Sunday? Or is it baking or making dinner in the kitchen with them? Where will they feel most comfortable to start taking those risks? Kathy, how'd I do?
And I'll just echo quickly.
You did amazing.
She did do amazing.
Go ahead, Taryn.
Well, I was just going to say, that is one of my favorite quotes from Kathy is meet people where they are and allow them to be in their space. No expectation, no expectation. Again, I'm not mother of the year either. Trust me, my kids watched me blow it a ton. I got sober in front of my kids. They watched their mom do hard things. But I'm grateful for that because, again, me being vulnerable and me working through that as a single mom helped them to see that they could do it too. And so I just think, it's modeling what that looks like, showing what it looks like to get help and showing, like Leah said, the days when you don't have your crap all together. We used to do something when they were little and I miss this. I'm an empty nester this year. Both my kids got married and left me. But we sat down at the end of the day and the first thing that we started with was what was the best thing that happened to you? Just so we could talk about the good. And then we talked about the crap, right? But it wasn't that we avoided it. But, it was what was good in my day? and they would share it. And it was always so funny to me because if I wouldn't ask, my Caitlin was always the first to say, "Aren't you going to ask me my best thing?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. So sorry. Go ahead. What was your best thing?" So I just think finding time and making time, on their level too, and wanting to learn what went on in your day to day too, and tell me the truth of it. I want to hear the nitty gritty too.
And I think just kind of tacking on what Taryn said, like it doesn't have to be this formalized sort of interview process. It can be on the fly. It can be just part of your day-to-day communication. We all have to practice to be good communicators. And we're going to have our good days. We're going to have our bad days. We're going to have our horrible days. And I think just recognizing that as adults, we can role model all of those, and kids have the opportunity to learn how to manage that and how to navigate that. And, we can provide the skills to our kids by, experiencing life and going through it and doing hard things.
And just because we are going to be the role models for these conversations, remember that we don't have to be the experts right away either. We could struggle together as we're having these conversations with our kids or with the youth. If we learn together or struggle together, or if we sit down and say, I don't know how to express how I'm feeling right now. As long as we're working together, I think that could be meaningful and beneficial as well. We don't always have to know and be an expert on everything.
Thank you so much. We are going to be running out of time. And so what I wanted to do is ask one final question. And I want to end this presentation with hope. And I hope that you have been able to see how everyone gathering together, they're living out my mantra. And it's a mantra I learned from Dr. Doug Gray. And it's one that says, never worry alone. And I really want you to go out into the world knowing that you don't have to figure it all out, that, just someone years ago told me about Control-Alt-Delete. I love that. I have used that Control-Alt-Delete so many times, and I break it down to what is it that I can control in my life, and am I powerless over this? Do I need to accept that? And then what do I need to maybe alter or change in my life? And then maybe, is there something that I need to delete or take off of my plate? So I'm going to use this last 3 to 5 minutes. If we could just go around, and if we could start with Hallie, and then after Hallie, Taryn, and after Taryn, Leah, and then Ashley, just give one word of advice or something that is really an actionable item that our participants can go out into the world and never worry alone. And I'll start with you, Hallie.
Short answer is just, be kind to one another. Remind those who you love, that, tell them over and over that you love them. Pay attention, look for the differences in behaviors. And if things seem out of sorts to you, if you haven't heard from somebody, if they're just, not being the type of person who ask questions, don't be afraid, share your experiences. Just the fact that people are here, not just myself, people here saying that they're survivors and that they've gone through tough times makes, each of us more approachable, whether you've been directly impacted by suicide or not, or just have days where you're sad or depressed, or just be vulnerable, be raw. I will never not be able to be open and honest about this journey, because I feel like if I was just sitting here saying, yeah, I lost my son to suicide and shared nothing else, I'm not sure that would help anybody. This is reality. This is life. It's ugly. I can't change it. So I'm just going to continue to make a difference. So just, be open, be honest, and talk. And, if you get to walk away at the end of the day thinking that maybe you brighten someone else's day, you don't know. We have no idea how hard people are struggling. Maybe just you reaching out via text, whatever, phone, who uses the phone anymore, but any way you can communicate to touch base with somebody. I was on a panel the other day, and they have an initiative, I think it's in Ohio, that it's called, I can't remember the name of it, but they encourage you to reach out to 5 people every day, whether it's just a text, whether it's an email, whatever. especially during these times. So just remember, we all need each other, and hopefully, you can be the strength for somebody else, and somebody else can be there for you, and be strong.
Thank you. We'll turn the time over to Taryn.
I'll be quick. I just wanted to reply because I saw just a comment. Candy, I just want to say, reach out to us, connect with us on afsp.org, get a healing conversation. We'd love to be your tribe. That's what I had to find out. I love the Control-Alt-Delete. I had to delete the people in my life that didn't understand that this was a part of my life now. And I talk about it. I talk about my dad every day. I think about him, and we need each other to get through this. Be where your feet are, stay present. See people. That is my favorite. See people. I'm the creep that puts my hands on people's, arms when in the drive-thru at McDonald's, when I could tell that the kid giving me my hot and spicy McChicken was having a hard day, and sat there and talked with him for 5 minutes and probably pissed off everybody in the line. See people. See people. We need each other to get through this. So thank you so much for your time today, everybody.
Thank you, Taryn. Leah, and then we'll end with Ashley.
This is always a tough one to follow Taryn. But I think that, my takeaway is always this, like, we have so much strength as humans to do hard things and to navigate things that we are bumps in our path, right? And we have the ability to have a tribe, a community. We have the ability to reach out and connect. And while sometimes it's so hard to make that step, it's so hard to just say, hey, I'm having a hard time. If that's hard, just start with, hey, just take that small step, and, whatever that looks like for you, whatever that's comfortable for you, to walk away from this today saying, you know what, I'm going to reach out to someone who maybe I haven't spoken to in a little bit, or just someone I have spoken to, but maybe I haven't had more than a conversation other than, hey, are you on this Zoom call with me? Take a moment and show that a person in your life matters to you. And what we know is when you do things and reach out to others, you can fill your cup as well.
Thank you so much. And then we'll just end with Ashley.
Yes, I love that. I'm also going to add one more thing, and that is to check in with yourself as well. This might also be a Kathy Davis thing. She has so many tricks up her sleeve, but when you're on an airplane, they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first before others. So I do think it is very important to check in with yourself, make sure you're doing okay. And if you need some time, or if you need some assistance, or if you need some support, to make sure you prioritize yourself and reach out for those as well.
Well, just finally, thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists, all of the participants that came today. And I will let you know that this has been recorded, and we will go ahead and give you a link to the recording tomorrow with a follow-up survey and additional resources. And just finally, please take good care of yourselves tonight and check in. And thank you so much for participating in this panel today, everybody, and have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.